What do we talk about?
Love.
Love. To talk about love is quite a difficult matter, because love itself is not too fond of talking. Love acts, lives, breathes, sings, but does not talk in our normal ways. You would know a lover by his incapacity to talk, or by his deranged talk. If you look at our normal conversations, talks that we have with each other, they are just exercises in communication of mental stuff, justifications, explanations, cause effect. In other words, they are our words, they are a method to ensure separation. That's the legitimate use of language. It maintains separation, and hence it maintains the world, and hence it can be fully well used to describe the world. You are there, the world is there, a certain gap is there, and now language is quite effective. You can talk about a lot of things. In love, what do you talk about? The universe, that is normally the object of any communication, any conversation, does not appear or remain important enough to be talked about. And that which has come about as important, which is overwhelming you as important, is too tricky, touchy, immediate, and elusive to be put in words. That is why you can very quickly identify a learned man through his speech. But not really a lover. One has to come really close to a lover, look at his life, look at his actions, and see the soul of love there, the imprint of love there. It is real, it acts. It doesn't merely talk. And even when it does talk, the talk is akin to action. It is as if you are acting through your words. In fact, that is the only marker. The two kinds of minds, the one that wants to stay with the world, stay with the universe, maintain a separation, maintain itself. And the other kind that has found something more appealing, more real. This is the only difference. The first kind of mind will be living in a mesh of reasons, justifications, paradigms, causes, sorrows, bondages, limitations, constraints. And the second mind will be totally oblivious of all that the first mind is full of. Oblivious. Oblivious because it is looking at something else. The loving mind, in that sense, does not overcome the universe. It forgets it. The universe is not a puzzle that you can solve with mental activity. You can only leave it behind. The loving mind leaves it behind because it is looking forward to something else. Is there a reason for leaving something behind? No. Along with the thing, you also leave the reason behind. Is there a reason for looking ahead? Not really. All reasons are a part of the universe. If you have a reason for leaving something behind, then you are just moving from one aspect of mental activity to the next. You are not really leaving the mind behind. So what is it then? One goes beyond the normal limits of sanity. One acts in ways that are not rationally justifiable. One lets the unthinkable happen to himself. In fact, one invites the unthinkable to happen. What is all this? In spite of my best efforts, I will never be able to communicate. It is not something that we can learn of in this particular setting. What then is the use of this setting if we cannot learn of love here? The use of this setting is just to let you know that you won't get it in a formal, organized structure like this. Here you choose to come in all your safety. Here there is very little at stake. You can learn about love not as a concept, not as knowledge, but only by being fully submerged in love. It would be too cheap an affair if love could be communicated this way. It cannot be. And I'm glad it cannot be. which means that those who want to live with their safeties, with their self-made constraints, may continue to live with their safeties and their constraints. Keep declaring themselves right and proper and centered and justified. And they will never get a whiff of what the real thing is all about. Yes, of course, their miserable faces and joyless lives will tell the whole story, but they would be so habituated to living joylessly that they won't be able to read even the open books that their own faces are. They would call the reasonlessness, the purposelessness, the causelessness of love as extreme. They would advocate centered, balanced, middled action and life, without ever bothering to ask, extreme for whom? Extreme with respect to what? If you are habituated to moving at a speed of 20 kilometers an hour, then for you even 50 is extreme. If you are habituated to living within the safety of 10 walls, then just a stroll down the road for you is a grave and extreme danger. Extreme for whom? Who sets the limits? Why can't you just see that what you call as your normal and natural limits are nothing but artificial impositions? There are no limits. And unless you see that there are no limits, you are totally unworthy of love. Unless you see that all that you offer as checks and balances as boundaries, as constraints, as reasons, rationale and justifications, are just petty traps of the ego. Would your eyes ever have that wild spark? It looks so idiotic. One is so self-contained in his self-made world of self-declared importance and seriousness. Self-made, self-contained, self-declared, this is my world and this is important. Such are my limits, they are important. Such is the shape of the universe, important. Such are my relationships, important. And anything beyond this fictitious suchness is considered lunacy by the so-called balanced mind. And in the moment when it is declaring the movement of love as lunacy, it looks so stupid. So stupid, so poor. But how to get rid of this poverty? Again, I'm helpless. I don't think I'll be able to communicate. One has to jump into it. And if you're not prepared to jump, if you want to substitute the experience of being in the middle of the river with a description of what it means to be there, then neither can you succeed, nor I am going to be your ally in such an effort. To most of us, love is a destructive madness. Yes, love is both mad and destructive. It destroys all that is superficial, idiotic, unholy, and lifeless about you. That's what love destroys. And yes, it is a madness. It is a madness in the very sense that inmates of a mental asylum call the rest of the world as mad, including the doctor. If love is a madness, it is a holy madness. It is a wise madness. But even as I say these things to you, I'm cautious of the use these words would be put to. You take these words and use them to convince yourself that you know at least something about love. Many of you are already pretending as if these words are giving you a taste of something beyond yourself. I'm sorry, that cannot happen. No description of the river can ever tell you what it means to be dallying with the river. Most of us are just too afraid to get wet, and they have 1,000 reasons. I do not want to give them one more reason. So I would rather stop. Go into it, dive, risk all the nonsense that we carry around as sacred. And then you will be breathing love. You won't be asking, what is love? In love, then you can ask many other things. It's fun to ask in love, answer in love, compose a little poem in love, read in love. All is wonderful in love. But if the question is, what is love? It's a certain thing in the heart. It's a certain courage that responds to the moment, that doesn't shy away. It's an answer that doesn't have to think. It's a song that doesn't have to be composed. It's a decision that doesn't need to be made. Just the description makes us go nervous. And you want me to continue? Seriously. Every time you refuse to answer the call, there is one thing you would surely find. You may be having the most valid of self-declared justifications, yet you would be ashamed. Yet you would not be able to look at truth in the eye. You'll need to repeat and repeat and repeat all your justifications and consolations to yourself in the hope that you may be able to convince yourself someday, and you'll find you are not able to convince yourself. And then you'll be angry at yourself for not being convinced by your own arguments. You're ashamed and you're angry. Do you like that? Ashamed at yourself, angry at yourself, and still insistent that you don't want to answer the call. You like that? Seriously? Nothing makes a man look as ugly as when he is ashamed. If you look ugly, the only reason is that you're ashamed of your own self. And that's the only guilt you are carrying, of not being truthful to yourself, of being afraid, and hence letting yourself down every time there is an opportunity. That's the only thing that makes you feel small, feel unworthy, feel incapable. And the more incapable you feel, the more likely you are to not to answer the call the next time. And you'll have a bundle of justifications again. And you'll find that none of those justifications convince anybody, including yourself. Love and peace are one. If you cannot submit to that mystical urge, you will never have peace. And you'll keep wondering, what is it that keeps you restless? This is what keeps you restless. Don't you know? Wedded to pettiness, you simultaneously want the immensity of peace. Will that happen? Ever happen? I repeat, only the moment and your response to it absolves you. All the words in the universe, 1,000 sessions like this one, are not going to help you if you are not to the challenge, if you are not open to the invitation, I will keep talking and talking, and a day will come when even listening would become too much of a burden on you. Even to listen to me, you first have to resonate with what I am saying. You have to be somewhat close to the place I am speaking from. And if you are determined to stay at your own place, then how will you connect to what I am saying? Remember, it is not at all about the content of my speech. You do not relate to what I am saying. You relate to where I am speaking from. And if you can connect to where I am speaking from, then it doesn't matter what I am saying. You will know. And if you are far away from where I am speaking, then it doesn't matter what I am saying. Even my simplest words will remain like puzzles to you. Even if you convince yourself that you have been able to understand, you would just be consoling yourself. If I am speaking from the river, if it is from the waves that I talk, then you could not be sitting comfortably, well secured, well garmented, well respected, well protected. On the banks. The one in the river may keep shouting and singing and calling, but the one outside the river, on the banks, will not be able to listen. The reason is simple. The call of the one in the middle of the waves is the call of the waves themselves. And if you are not letting the waters touch you, then surely you have no relationship with the waves. The rocks on the sides, what do they know of the waves? They may be close to the flow of the river, but it doesn't matter. A separation has always been maintained. So after talking this much, I again express my apologies and helplessness. Unless you dive in, unless you are up to the moment, your face will just keep looking like this. Shrunken, little, ashamed. Only love gives you fullness. For love is the movement from smallness to fullness. Smallness is obviously afraid of love. You want it, don't you? You want it. And if you want it, why do you talk about it? Why don't you just let yourself free to go into it? LOVE is not love. 30, 40, 50 minutes of this discussion. No, all the notes that you are taking. And very soon, maybe in the next 5 minutes, in the next 50 minutes, in the next 5 days, depending upon the reach and the sensitivity of your consciousness, you will find another opportunity. And then will you come and say, let's have another session on love? The river is there, it beckons you, and you are requesting a session on love. The lover is knocking, and with your back turned on him, you are asking for a session on love. It's like you have closed the doors on your lover and are now listening to mushy romantic songs. That opportunity is there every moment. But you may not sense it. However, you do sense it sooner than later. That's why I said 5 minutes, 50 minutes, 5 weeks. Depending on how sensitive you are, you will sense it. If you're not able to sense it, nothing lost. But all is lost when, in spite of sensing it, you miss it. In spite of knowing that it is calling, you still refuse. That's when you miss it totally. If you really are unable to perceive it, it may happen. If you really are unable to perceive it, you are forgiven. But if, in spite of coming to consciously know of it, you still choose a continuation of your world, a protection of your old ways, then there is no forgiveness for you. The punishment is severe. The punishment is an inner shame, a feeling of guilt. The whole mind shrinks, the whole personality becomes small. There is a feeling of littleness about you. You know the difference between grapes and raisins? Ever seen the dried raisins? And ever seen a full grape? Do you know what I mean? The sweetness is still there in the heart of the raisin. But look at the expression. Look at how the water is lost. Rahman pani rakhi, bin pani sab sun. The water is lost. The water is in the waves. The whole personality of the lover is a blooming personality. You may say 1,000 things about him or her, but the one thing that you can never say is that he is unexpressed. And that is the curse of the normal life. It is an unexpressed life. The core sits here at the heart, and the body and the mind are agents of its expression. But the body and the mind both, if they get lost in their own self-centered identities, if they do not remain faithful servants of the core, then they express nothing. They express only their own pettinesses. Real expression, real effervescence, real maturity, real ripening comes only to the lover. Otherwise you remain so childish, so compressed, so suppressed, so contained, so arrested. You understand? Arrested. As if there is something that is willing to grow, but you have put a lid upon it. Hmm? Don't you really want to know what it would feel like to show up fully? To show your completely expressed face to the world and say this. Have you ever seen any face of yourself except a raisin-like face? A face that speaks of constraints and limitations and botherations. You ever seen a face of yours that is the face of a real man, a real woman? Standing tough, standing tall. Not accepting limits. A face with a total capacity for sorrow. A face with a total capacity for joy. Most people are so ashamed that even in their joy, they are just willing to be shamed, waiting to be shamed. Even in their moments of self-proclaimed bliss, you can so easily go to them and convince them that it is all rubbish. And it's a matter of the intensity of the argument. They'll be convinced in 5 minutes. At least they will have a self-doubt. And shame again, littleness again. Even the sorrow is not deep enough. One could be crying hoarse. A loved one has died. And you go and tell him, here is $1 trillion for you. And then see whether the sorrow remains the same. Even the sorrow is open to be negotiated. Valued and marketed. Everything is a matter of measurement. There is nothing immeasurable. There is nothing infinite. There is nothing in front of which all other priorities fade away. There is nothing. Everything is just a matter of consideration, valuation, balancing one scale against the other, seeing what is more important, evaluating the pros and cons. Love is when the pros are not known and the cons don't matter. The cons are known, but they don't matter. The pros, well, there are none. You don't even know them. There are, but you don't know. Of the cons, you very well know. But you still, with a smile, Whenever I speak, there are two kinds of minds. The ones that are just beginning to open up on hearing these words, and others that are beginning to further close down in their need for self-protection. It's like a row of houses, and someone comes and announces, the real man is coming. The real man is coming. And some of the women, they start opening their gates. And the others, they start closing. The announcement is the same. The real man is coming. Just look at your face and you'll come to know what kind of a woman you are. Is the whole being, the whole personality opening up to receive? Or is it further closing itself? Danger. One photograph from here and your entire life story will be captured. How is it possible that you do not know what kind of a woman you are? You want to be respectful. You are a social being. You don't want to be harsh. So you slowly, respectfully close the doors.
I think I am a bitch.
No, it's not as if, we resent him. It is just that it is a little too late in the night and, maybe, and my father is here and, the neighbors may just object and, so, thank God, it's closed. And there are others, they too lie, but they lie to open the doors. The breeze is so fresh, little bit of nice breeze come in. No, I'm just going out to fetch some vegetables. No, don't close. My friend is about to arrive. Yeah, the friend next door. No, nothing wrong will happen. Let's keep the door open. Lovers lie a lot. They come up with all kinds of fantastic reasons to keep the doors open. They have to lie because there can be no real reason to keep the door open. So whenever somebody will ask for a reason, the lover will have to lie. You are an idiot if you ask the lover a reason. Why did you ask a reason? Now your punishment is that you will receive a lie. You are the one who asked for a lie. Sufficient that it is love. Now why are you asking for explanations? Why are you asking for stories? There is no story, there is just love. In the name of stories, you can get fantastic lies. But that pleases you. The latch was broken. The wind was just too strong. It's the termites. 4 of those wild rabbits, they pushed the door open from outside. And then, thank God, danger averted. The next morning, all 10 women get together to sing songs of love. But there will be a difference. 2, 3 or 4 of them would have known a night of love, would have known a heart of love. And the remainings would have just known words of love. Don't you think their songs will be different? One of them might just be impregnated with love. Don't you think her song will be really different?
फुलनेस की बात करें ना कि या तो बहुत दुख है बहुत सुख है, ऐसा होता ही नहीं. लेकिन सुख भी ठीक है, दुख भी इतना सब मैनेजेबल है. हाँ, और फिर वो इंटेंसिटी की लड़ाई रहती है. इंटेंसिटी नहीं है, इतना अंदर चल रहा है.
We don't suffer enough. We don't suffer fully. Even in suffering, we have our self-imposed limits.
निकल रास्ता निकाल लेते हैं.
Love is the sweetest song. It is a death song. It asks for suffering. And if you are someone who avoids and has all the ways to avoid suffering, if I do this, then there will be a payment to make. If I do this, then there will be consequences. If I do this, then there will be problems for me. If you are someone who avoids problems and consequences, and love is not for you. Sorry, you are not for love. Love is always there for you. You are not for love. Next morning, you too can come out and join the women who really had the real man and pretend that you too know the song of love. Keep pretending. You will never belong to that night. You'd just be sleeping through that night. How idiotic it looks. In the middle of the dance of love, you are snoring. The other one is moaning, kissing, caressing, gently whispering. Singing in broken tunes, and you are snoring. You want a bigger punishment than this? You want a bigger punishment? Of course, the next morning you will wake up with 10 hours of sleep behind you. And the other one will wake up probably with cuts on her face and the rest of her body, and tired and sleepy. And you will say, look at me, I'm fresh, energized, and look at you, cuts on your lips, cuts on your cheeks, stains and bruises all over your body, and such sleepy and intoxicated eyes. You look like falling down any moment. See, this is the price you pay for a mad night. And she'll say yes. This is the reward you get for a mad night. And of course, you will be fully fit so you can go to your office. And she'll be drunk. So of course she cannot attend office, and she'll lose one day of salary and maybe a little bit of career progression and some goodwill, some social standing. She will lose all of that, and you will keep progressing and be secure, and of course. I can't visualize a greater punishment than this. At the end of the month, at the end of the year, you will walk away with a fat sum of money, with all that you desired. You will walk away with reputation, with progress, with respectability. And she'll walk away, free of all these. That's a reward. The punishment is that you will have exactly what you desired. You'll have security. You'll have money. You'll have admiration. That is your punishment. And her reward is that she will have none of these. She'll be walking free of these. That's what these crazy love nights do. They set you free of all those who dominate the days. The days are dominated by all these lords of the society. If you belong to the nights, then you cannot belong to the lords of the days. But the alarm goes off at 8 and the bus comes at 9. So I have to sleep. Besides, my sister is there in the next room. What if she hears the bed rocking? Too bad for my reputation. Yeah, you can keep the reputation. That's your punishment. Kindly maintain your reputation. Lovers break the beds. They want to be one with the earth. You don't know what it means to break the bed, right? You don't even know what it means to rock the bed. You only know what it means to snore on the bed. If you don't break the bed, how will you be buried? How will you know the soil? How will you become one with the earth? It's such a disgrace to be suspended in between the earth and the sky on a bed. You belong neither to the sky nor to the earth. The best way to reach the sky is to break the bed and be one with the earth. Shake and bang the damn thing so hard it breaks down. That is spiritual practice. That is ascension. When you fall down, that is ascension. That is a rise. The bed is the society. The snoring is the body. The bed is the mind. The sleep is the body. You must beat both of them. Beat the sleep and beat the bed. And then you are one with the caller, one with the real man. But the bed is expensive. Besides, my mama gifted it to me. Her sentiments are attached to this bed. Enough. Ask something else.